Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
With your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Sleep In Saturday and Questions and Answers Day. That's why we play those Q&A songs. And sure enough, we are joined by a bunch of people here live on Zoom every morning, and as well as thousands of other people who listen on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. And so it's fun. If you want to join live, it's actually a little bit more fun because people are just doing their thing, walking around. I'm looking at our assistant, Mara. She's cooking something. I'm looking at Krishungi from Finland. She's like kayaking, God knows where. Some people are just laying down with their dogs, petting their cats. But everybody knows each other because this group, this little cult, sees each other every morning at 5 a.m. practically. It's very, very peculiar phenomenon that's happening with Wisdom of the Sages, but I'm very grateful for it. What do you think, Kaustubha?
I'm very grateful too.
And today is my actual favorite day. Saturday, Questions and Answers Day is my favorite day.
Is it?
Yeah. And I'm sitting here live from a hotel room in where am I? Valley Forge, historic place.
Are you in the bathroom this time again? What's going on?
No, remember that time?
I do.
If anybody doesn't know what he's talking about, there's one time I played a show with my band late at night, not far from here somewhere in Scranton or something, and my kids were all sleeping, and I had to do the morning show, and I did it in the bathroom. That was the first time Bhagavatam class was ever done in a toilet.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're helping Rachel and Jeff plan their wedding. They're a couple Zoomers, and we're excited. We're having meetings all day long about other stuff as well.
You don't seem like the wedding planner kind of guy to me.
I'm not, truthfully, and I was telling this to Mara the other day, I'm not a good long-term listener. Like, I can listen for like 40 seconds. I can talk okay. I can talk for hours. But I want everyone just to notice, especially on Zoom, when Kaustubha starts to listen, and I love Kaustubha, and I love what he says, and I learn a lot from you. But when my wife said, this is a very, very interesting point. Like when I start to have to sit in one place, you'll just watch me, my body language. I start to fidget, I start to scratch, I start to move my arms, I stretch, I yawn compulsively. It's like some type of sick thing going on. I think I need professional help. It's very difficult. And what to speak, we say, okay, we got a 3-hour meeting today. That is like the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I cannot sit still at all.
Well, we accept you.
I'm broken, man. I'm broken.
We accept you just the way you are. Don't go changing. Right?
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu. If you're new to the show, we call each other Prabhu a lot. It's addressing each other as master. And we think it's a nicer way than saying, hey, yo, Kaustubha. That's not so nice. Prabhu, if I call him Prabhu, if he is my master, then I'm training my mind to be the servant. Isn't that a great way?
Servant attitude.
Powerful, huh?
Adopt the servant attitude. Adopt the servant mind.
We got great questions today.
Got a lot of them.
Got a lot of questions.
Should we dive right in?
Yeah.
Any announcements need to be made? We got Bhakti Recovery happening this around 9:30ish or so
Yeah, it's
Eastern time. All right. For Patreon members.
Yeah, we're community. Oh yeah, if you're listening on Facebook, we are a community-supported podcast. That means if you like what we're doing, you make a monthly pledge, and that's not it. Then you enter into a secret chamber called patreon.com/wisdom of the sages, where you have access to all workshops, regular yoga classes, on a regular basis, and everything. If you if there was a great Ayurveda workshop going on today on Patreon, you don't miss it. It's archived in our sacred transcendental vault, and you're in.
All right.
It's good. It's good even from a practical point of view. You're like, you could even hate our guts and just be like, you know what? I think they have valuable information on those workshops, so I'm just going to do that. And I like yoga, but
I think we had like 5 or 6 events this past week.
Yeah, it's cool.
Live events.
Very cool.
Okay. Shall we get into it?
Let's dive into the sweet honey pot of nectarian joy.
If we got to come up with something different. got to switch that one up.
Okay.
But,
we got to start our questions and answers day with our very own Wisdom of the Sages, Harshal Gore.
Harshal Gore from London.
Harshal Gore from London. He is a regular questioner. We feature his questions every week. For some reason, he gets picked. Mara's in charge of picking questions, so maybe she just favors him. But Harshal Gore from London gets a question every week, and everybody else has to fight to get their questions heard. But Harshal, here's a question, he says.
Now hold it. This is for both of us, right?
Yeah, it's for both of us.
Okay. Next one's for both of us too. Right?
Okay.
This
is a good one. Ready?
Yeah.
Who is your favorite spelled like the British spell it? Who's your favorite character?
What does favorite mean?
Favorite at the shoppy. Who is your favorite character from the Mahabharata?
Yeah.
Who do you like? Why do you like this person? Mm-hmm. What lesson can we take from them? Here's the catch.
Yeah.
You cannot choose Krishna or Arjuna.
Okay. But still, there's plenty of great characters.
Really? And you better not say who I'm going to say because it's going to ruin my answer.
Oh. Who is it now? Let me try to guess who Raghunath's going to say.
You never guess.
Well, then there's not a problem. But what are you afraid of?
No, your turn. You're going first.
Okay. I would say, there's so many I could pick. I lean a lot towards Yudhishthira.
No kidding.
But anyway, just today, what's that?
No kidding. No, just kidding.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just kidding. No kidding.
That's not like cool enough or something?
No, these are the coolest. These are the coolest. That's why.
So I was thinking, but I think I would go today. If you ask me on another day, I might give you another answer. I got my Mahabharata comic books arriving today. So, you ask me this question next week, I could be in a totally different place.
Okay, well, Harshal's going to have to re-answer. He's the only guy who gets to answer every week, and he can even ask the same question every week.
And we'll still choose it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Vidura.
Vidura. That is a great answer.
Okay.
Vidura. Good answer. Good answer.
Thank you. Should I answer why?
You got to ask why.
Okay, so I'll say these things about now. Vidura was one of 3 brothers, he was like an uncle of the Pandavas, right? But he didn't have all the prestige and the status of his other brothers, Pandu and Dhritarashtra. Now, Pandu died. That was the father of the Pandavas, and Dhritarashtra was their uncle, and he never really was able to love them the way that he should, and his own kind of evil sons, he was always inclined towards, appeasing them, I suppose you could say, right?
Yes.
And in Dhritarashtra, he ignored a lot of really good advice and ultimately led to disaster. Now Vidura is one of those people providing that good advice. He was a super qualified counselor, right?
Yeah.
Really wise person, always there. He was able to understand, what was important and what was the wise decision. So he had that qualification as a counselor. He wasn't afraid to speak truth to power, right? He would,
Yeah.
he
He was straight up right with the king. He just
Yeah.
tell him how it is. Even at the
and
risk of his own safety and place to live, he got kicked out of the kingdom.
that's right. So he knew let me say what's right, and I'm willing to accept the consequences of that. And he also accepted what he couldn't change. He could, he would speak his truth, and then if it couldn't be accepted, he was ready to walk out, and he left. He accepted what he couldn't change, and he used that as an opportunity to go and search, for his own deeper spiritual understanding. And then he pops up back again in Srimad Bhagavatam as a questioner, right? And the beautiful chapters with Vidura, the 3rd canto, 4th canto, with Vidura asking questions to Maitreya.
Right.
I remember when my wife and I were reading it together, we're just like, after that's 3rd level, right? That's the 3rd level is
Third level, yes.
Vidura asking Maitreya, and then after the 4th canto, and you don't hear from Vidura anymore. It's kind of like, oh man, where did Vidura go? But then he came back, and he shared his wisdom even with the people that really let him down. He did, even his own brother, who really should have stood up for him. He still cared. He didn't hold his weaknesses against him, and he came back to try to help him too. So there's a lot of beautiful scenes with Vidura, how he really cared for Yudhishthira and the Pandavas, how he had all that wisdom, how he was detached, for so many reasons, Vidura. Okay?
You're never going to guess mine.
Well, then now that means it's going to be like let me say Kunti.
Good guess. Wrong.
Near, close. Am I close? Is it a woman?
No, it's not a woman, but
Okay.
good guess. I love Kunti. I'm going to give you 2 more tries.
Okay, well, I've eliminated women from the field. So, it's got to be someone. I don't know. I don't.
Now, listen, this is my favorite.
Give me a hint.
You'll never guess it. This is my favorite because, and don't say Nakula, it's not Nakula. He's my favorite because he brings up a lot of emotions. Here's the deal.
Karna.
Yes, Karna. And this is why. Not because he's made the best choices. Because sometimes people's choices teach you a lesson in what choices not to make. Right?
Okay.
Some people's poor choices teach you not to make those choices. And we say, what do we say, Mara?
What do we say?
About the main thing. The main thing. What's the main thing?
The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Right. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. What happened with Karna was he did everything right. He was pious, right? In a lot of ways, he was very pious. He was very religious and dharmic. He was loyal. He was dedicated, but not to the main thing. All of his alliance and allegiance and concern for and ethics was all dedicated to Duryodhan. Duryodhan is not the main thing. So it's almost like you got to check in with your alliance. You got to check in with what you're rallying behind, what you're putting your neck out on the line for. And we say truth, spirit, God, sweet baby Krishna, whatever you want to call your higher power. That's the main thing. When you choose, my life is here to serve the main thing, everything else gets taken care of. Arjuna also had loyalty, dedication, persistence, courage, dharma, religiosity, charity, all the things that Karna had. And they were incredible heroes. Some people say Karna was even a better fighter. That's debatable. It's debatable. We're not going to get into it. But he didn't keep the main thing the main thing. And that's the main thing.
You could argue either side on that one, couldn't you?
I know. I've heard arguments.
And we've seen also.
Yeah. How about when Karna? Oh, my God. If you haven't read the Mahabharata, you got to read it, because I will say, I've read the Mahabharata many times over. Every time I read about Karna,
it's a heartbreaker.
I cry. I kid you not. I'm sitting in like the Delta Airlines, aisle seat, and I'm reading the Mahabharata, and I just start crying. The guy looks next to me. He's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah."
It's just Karna.
I'm not making this up. I cry when you find out that Kunti's his mother, and she starts crying, and he's worshiping the sun. What a tearjerker! Oh my God!
They used to do.
If you haven't read that, and if you don't like to read, if it's intimidating to read, then you go to audible.com and you download the Mahabharat by Krishna Dharma for the best listen you'll ever listen to. It'll suck up 18 hours of your life, and you'll never regret it ever. Okay. And you can have kids. Your kids, my kid, me and Rocco listen to it every day. I drive him to his homeschool thing. Every day, we got 40 minutes of hearing the Mahabharat, and we're wrapped. As soon as we get in the car, Mahabharat. We're right at a good place, too.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for question number 2?
Yes, sir.
I'll read it to you. You answer first. This one's for both of us as well. This one's coming from one of our favorite people. She's a Zoomer.
Krishna Drew. Did you know her name's not even Krishna? Did you know her name's not even Krishna?
No.
It's not.
What's her name?
It's something other Indian name, but all of her work, all the people at her work just call her Krishna. Oh, so she just accepted Krishna as her name.
What's her name now?
Yeah, Krishna Drew.
Okay. So this comes from Krishna Drew. How do Kaustubha and Raghu practice japa? Raghu said he goes to the forest and does it loudly. A few episodes ago, you did discuss like car japa, etc.
Car japa.
My questions: do you sit in one spot, on the floor, sitting on a cushion, rocking chair, or mix? Walk, sitting down, loud versus silent in the head? Please elaborate on your view on silent in head meditative japa.
I generally sit when I'm in the car chanting.
It's hard not to.
That was a joke. What do you do, Kaustubha? What do you do? What's your favorite?
Well, there's a few questions here, right? So, I have a weird japa thing right now since this Wisdom of the Sages thing started getting going because
you don't chant in the morning, you prepare in the morning.
Yeah, it's like I've been thinking about this lately. It's kind of like you and I have this thing where like we talk to thousands of people every day at 5 a.m. It's an unusual schedule.
Very peculiar thing.
Yeah.
A very peculiar phenomenon.
So I get up very early, but I like to use that time to read and study and think. And then, so usually I chant my japa.
You get up early and sleep in Saturday?
Yeah. But I usually use that, the time in the late afternoon to chant my japa. And a lot of times I'll go outside. So I have Central Park right nearby, and I like to sit in nice places, but I also walk too. So I do both, And I like to chant out loud in the head. In the head is okay if you're attentive, but if you're not, then it's got to be out loud. And generally, it's got to be out loud. But if the mind is there, the volume and the sound, it creates another sensual. It gets another sense involved to help keep the mind tied to it. Yeah. But if the mind is there, then quiet in the mind is okay. But generally, out loud. All right, Raghu. And yourself?
Well, if you know me personally,
you roam.
I'm deeply mentally disturbed, and so I can't sit still. It's hard for me to sit still like that. I have to move around. So for me, walking is the best. Being outside in nature is the best. Sitting still, very difficult for my mind just to sit still. I do like to do one round in front of my altar.
Okay.
But the best way is I really have to get away from everybody, including my phone. Don't bring the phone on the japa walk because there's too many good reasons to check the phone. Just don't do it. And
just leave it at home.
Just leave it at home. Turn it off until you're done with it.
Good idea.
And and another little thing I'll say is when I'm alone, then I feel free to chant loud. I feel free to mix in English spoken prayers. When I don't mean traditional English spoken prayers. I mean just like from my heart, speak to Krishna. And what it does at the very least is it brings the japa to more maybe real relevance, perhaps, bringing it back to some like conscious prayer, which it is, and the sound. And sometimes I'll say it loud, especially I live in sort of in the countryside, so I can say it real loud and not people won't be like, "Are you losing your mind?" So I can do that. That's my ideal thing, but really away from people, because it gets me to really start to pray and scream. And sometimes I do it with my pranayama practice as well. Like I'll inhale it and exhale mantra. How was that an answer? Phone off is the biggest thing.
Okay. Now you got one for me?
Yes, I do, my friend. This is from Tyler Nesbitt, and he's from Gainesville. Gainesville is like a holy place in America, isn't it?
Well, they've been distributing prasadam, so much, food offered.
Prasadam is sacred food. It's food that you cook as a meditation, vegetarian food. You cook as a meditation, as an offering. And the theory is that Krishna accepts the food. It's made with love. It's the missing ingredient in food. And then people eat that food and they get this. It's like chanting. It's like you're associating with Vishnu through food. And therefore it has a tangible effect. It's not just like a good meal. And it's not just like people I know, many people, regular people, not like spiritual people will say, "Oh yeah, well, I go to that Krishna restaurant." And there's a few Krishna restaurants around the world and in India where they're actually cooking prasad. They're cooking as a meditation. And they'll say things like, "There's something about that food. I can't put my finger on it." Ever hear people say like that?
I've heard it so many times. As a matter of fact, it reminds me that that was Perry Farrell once. He was doing that.
Perry Farrell, Stacy's brother.
That's Stacy's brother. That's right. Stacy's a daily Zoomer.
Yeah.
And so Perry Farrell, when he was doing, he started Lollapalooza.
Perry Farrell on the show.
Maybe we should. But when he started Lollapalooza, then he kind of left that behind. He started a different one. I forget what it was called, but he started like a new.
Put it up on the chat board, people. I can't remember what that was called.
Yeah, and he was on, and he had the devotees cooking for that Enid Festival. Enid Festival. Yeah. And he was on television speaking about it. He said, the Hare Krishna people, they're doing the cooking. He says they cook this food with love, and when you eat it, you experience that love.
That is beautiful.
He said it sincerely, It's true.
True.
Okay. So in anyway, Gainesville at the University of Florida.
Yeah. So they've been distributing.
For a long, long time. Tons.
Yeah.
Since like 71 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Did I read the question?
Nope.
Okay. I didn't even get off the name. As a beginner on the path of bhakti, says Tyler Nesbitt, what advice would you give to balance progress and distress? Meaning, one must continually stretch to engage more and more in devotional service and also not become too discouraged at the often slow or imperceptible rate of progress. What do you do about that, Kaustubha?
Okay. Well, Tyler, I like the way that you say, he says slow, but then he says or imperceptible. Right? Because it may not be slow at all, but its speed may be imperceptible to us, right? Because to really see the speed, you might have to zoom out very far, to understand, oh my goodness, out of how many thousands of births you've been like completely off course, and suddenly in this birth, you're moving real fast in the right direction. You with me?
Yeah.
And so, one may feel like, I sit down and I do this practice, I chant this mantra, I try to meditate on it, I can't keep my mind on it, I still have a lot of the same desires, they haven't gone away. I've been at this for 6 months, what's going on? Right? But actually the progress that you may be actually tremendous. But, you got to be willing to dedicate the time. So perspective is everything. It's like, if you really want to understand this, but it requires that, that steady enthusiasm, but with patience. Now, this is one thing that I, in my, he's saying that he's a beginner. I've been practicing this for about 33 years. I feel like I'm a beginner. But one observation I have is that the simplicity of the bhakti path becomes more apparent the further that you go. And as you keep moving forward, hopefully you start to realize this is a really simple thing. I just have to have my head and my heart situated in the right way. And then I just have to bring my mind to this mantra and to these books and just, fall in love with them. It's pretty simple.
Not make offenses.
Well, that's what I mean by having your head and your heart set the right way. And so that's exactly where I want to go with this, Raghunath, is that, there's a saying, sometimes it's attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but I think it's been debunked. But someone asks a woodman, how long will it take you to cut down this tree? And he said, well, what would you do if you had just 5 minutes to chop down a tree? You ask like a lumberjack or a woodsman or whatever.
Right.
If you had just 5 minutes? And the answer would be, I would spend the first 3 minutes sharpening the axe.
Ooh.
All right. Okay, you with me now?
Yeah, I like where you're going with this.
Okay. Okay. So you can be swinging that axe away, but if the blade is dull, it seems like, where's the progress? I'm hacking away, but it's not getting anywhere. So this is my advice, to myself as well as to anyone that's beginning to practice. But I wish I understood this more clearly, when I was beginning the practice. And that is that, the analogy, it is it's not quite perfect, because like if I'm going to chop down a tree, first I do one thing, I sharpen the axe, and then I start to swing it.
Yeah.
Whereas like on the path of bhakti, we're doing both at the same time. And it's not that the mantra has to be sharpened, but the point is that our ability to receive the influence of that mantra and to deeply absorb our mind in it, that is going to be affected by how we live, what our attitudes are, what our sentiments are, what our lifestyle is. And so if we pay the right attention to that, 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, we're not going to be sitting here saying, I'm chanting this and nothing's happening.
Right.
Well, it's like I'm swinging the axe, but nothing's happening. Well, so therefore we have to take really seriously understand that how I treat people, especially, and the attitudes that I have will be very important in my ability to focus on, meditate on, and deeply imbibe the influence of the mantras that we're chanting. So there's this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bahunam Janmana, Bahu Janma Kariyati Shravana Kirtana, Tabutaya Paya Krishna Pade Premadana, that despite one's endeavor in Shravana and Kirtana, in hearing and chanting, right, in reading these books and meditating and reflecting on them, and in the chanting of the mantras, we can be putting a lot of effort into that. But if we don't have the right attitudes, if we're committing these aparads, right, then the effect won't be so effective. And you can boil it all down into this super important verse spoken by Sri Chaitanya that has said that all the practitioners of Bhakti-yogi, they should take this verse really deeply to heart. Trinada Pisunichena, right? Tiror Eva Sahishnana, Amanena, Manadena, Kirtanaya Sadahari. This is the advice that Sri Chaitanya gives, that one must be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. That in that state of mind, Kirtaniya Sadahari, that the mind can always be absorbed in kirtan and experience that transformation. So let's just quickly look at this verse. It's a verse that's worthy of our deep study and contemplation and reflection. But what does it mean to be humble? It means that we adopt that service attitude, right? It means that we understand that happiness is found in service and nowhere else, right? We think it lies in so many other places, but actually, you see, look at Mara right now. She's serving over there, she's in the kitchen. Look at how happy she is. But happiness is found in service and nowhere else. So I adopt the service attitude. I want to serve. That's humility. I want to serve, And then tolerant means we just stop complaining and stop resenting,
Stop complaining, stop resenting.
That's tolerance, right?
That will change your whole life right there. Stop complaining, Stop resenting.
And that'll make that mantra, it'll enable you to be transformed by the power of that mantra. If your mind is absorbed in complaining and resenting, it's not going to absorb that power of that mantra, right? And so and the crazy thing is we actually think happiness is found in complaining and resenting, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, people they just get together and have a, right?
Pity party.
Yeah. I'm just complain and resent.
So happiness is found in service and nowhere else. Let go, just stop the complaining and the resenting. And then, to be devoid of all sense of false prestige. It means happiness also isn't, the big illusion is that I'll find my happiness through prestige. That when I'm being honored and I'm the center of the attention and everybody's finally saying what a great person I am and it's being recognized by everyone, everybody better recognize how special and great I am. We think happiness lies there. It doesn't lie there.
That's my hurdle.
It's a hurdle for everyone. It's one of the most subtle ones. Even if you dedicate your life, take the vows, I'm going to chant this much every day. I'm going to not do this and I'm not going to do that. But if we're still maintaining that idea, if we're still cultivating that desire, when people just finally recognize me as being a great Bhakti-yogi, then I'm going to be happy. No, happiness doesn't lie there either. There's no happiness there. Right? So more humble than a blade of grass means I got the service attitude. More tolerant than a tree means I'm not complaining, I'm not resenting. Devoid of all sense of false prestige. Happiness isn't coming through that. I'm happy to be in the background. No problem, right? And then we respect every other living being. It means we recognize that every living being, wherever there's life, that life is sacred, and we have due regard for the feelings of that person, whether it be a human being or an animal or even a plant. You move through this respect, right? Sure. Respect. If we do that, once we let go of our separate plans for happiness, of these confused ideas of where happiness is going to be, and we embrace these ideas, that's when that mantra is going to kick in. That's when you're going to become transformed by it. And then once you hit that point, and this really goes to Tyler's question. Once you understand, I'm going to find my happiness through service. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to resent. I'm not going to be trying to, become this recognized and honored person. I don't need that either. I'm going to show respect to everyone. I'm ready to serve. That's what I want to do. Once you hit that point, then you're happy already. Then you're already happy because you let go of all those entanglements that causes so much anxiety and grief. And then you'll say, you know what? This 10, 20, 30, 50 years, this one life, it's very little to give to this practice. Even if I have to do this for several lifetimes, I'm already happy. So it's no problem. I'm ready to serve. And at that point, what'll see like, my God, I'm not making any progress. You'll be like, no. I don't know how many lifetimes I've been in illusion. And now I'm feeling the benefit of it already. So if we can try to, like I was saying, it's all about perspective. If we try to see it from that perspective, then we won't feel like, come on, man, I've been chanting for 6 months and nothing's happening. We won't feel that way. So that would be my answer. Focus on the Trinada piece in each and really understand where happiness is found. It's not found in any of these other things. And if I let go of that idea, I can be humble, I can be tolerant, I can be devoid of the sense of the need for false prestige, and I can be truly respectful of every other living being. And then we'll be surprised how good we feel already. We'll feel that progress. All right, Raghu?
Beautiful.
All right.
Beautiful.
Now, I got a question from a very sincere person.
Hold on, before we go there,
yeah.
Right on the board, Nitai Lieberman, our second youngest listener on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, Nitai.
Says his grandparents started the Prasadam distribution program in Gainesville.
You see that? It's like he's like third generation. I bet he goes out. Nitai, do you go out?
He's third generation. You know what they say about fourth generation, Mara? Right? Lighting fire with mantra. That's right. Your kids, Nitai Lieberman, your kids. Practice strictly this Bhakti Yoga practice just so we can witness your kids lighting fire with mantras.
Don't let us down.
Don't let us down here. Let the magic happen.
Don't break the chain.
Yeah, don't break the chain.
Okay.
Okay,
And
sorry.
and then we're going to show that on Wisdom of the Sages when it happens too.
Yeah, you're gonna be a walk on Wednesday, Nitai. You're gonna bring
His
your
child
kids
will
to the
be.
show, and they're just gonna light fire.
All right. Not in the studio.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
What's
This
up?
is
What do you
a
got?
this is a super sincere question. I have to respect this person. His name is Salish Kumar. He's writing from Karachi, Pakistan.
Karachi, Pakistan, which is an Islamic state, but it was also a massive part of massive historical part of ancient India.
True.
Holy temples, thousands of, at least hundreds of temples existed. I think it was like 250 temples existed there, which are.
Look at you with your archaeological information here.
I'm into this stuff.
Okay.
Most of them are destroyed. There's like only 20 left, and they're all in disrepair.
Right.
But
Well, and that's my point. It's a hard place to be a practicing Hindu or practicing yogi.
it's a
Dangerous place.
It's a dangerous place. It's not. It's a place that don't care so much about human rights. So
Let's hear
please
what he
go
has to
on with
say.
this. Please go on with this question.
So he says, Dear Raghunath, Kaustubha, and Mara, hope this email finds you all in good health. I feel okay. How about you, Raghunath?
I feel good. I'm pretty.
Mara, good? Okay.
Good.
So it does. My name is Salish Kumar, and I'm a medical student in Karachi, Pakistan. First, I would like to sincerely express my most humble gratitude and respect to all of you and your podcast, Wisdom of the Sages. It has been the most peaceful and revolutionary duty of my life to listen to Sri Bhagavatam on a daily basis.
Wow.
Sages are in the pages, right?
Yep.
Please accept my utmost gratefulness. Well, we're grateful to you, Salish. I hear it one episode a day, and I absolutely love it. A little backstory about myself and my journey. I was born into Hinduism, and I have always heard of stories of Mahabharata and Ramayana in my childhood from elders, from shows, etc. But unfortunately, I never comprehended the meaning behind all the history and what this life holds. And due to lack of a community here, I never got the opportunity to indulge in the sacred literature. 22 years down the line of my life, and I am fighting depression and anxiety and beginning to question the existence of and meaning of it all, as Raghunath says in the podcast. And by Krishna's grace, I surrendered unto him, and I'm started meditating on him and calling out to him. And
What do I say in the podcast?
I guess you said something about questioning the meaning of life or something like that.
Oh, okay. They say that a lot. Okay. All right.
So he felt blessed, and that Krishna bestowed him with so much love during these past few months that his heart is already overflowing.
Ooh.
And I believe that Krishna led me to your podcast too. All in all, I need help with directing my life towards bhakti. And how can I start diving more deeper into Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita? I lack a community or friends with the same values as I hold, who can help uplift me towards bhakti. How do I search for someone outside the well and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from them? How do I create community? I would really appreciate if you could give me some advice, wisdom, as to how to direct my life from now on. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Salish
Kumar.
Karachi, Pakistan. That's amazing, huh?
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful, and thank you so much for writing. You know, when you read, like right now, you've got those comic books, the Ram Leela comic books and the Mahabharat comic books, and we hear a story about Krishna Leela, and Krishna killed the bull demon, and then Krishna killed the cart demon and the whirlwind demon, and the whole thing sounds so much like almost like a crazy cartoon. And then you have these practical things, but when you get into the Leelas and the stories, it almost seems very cartoon-like. And I'm just here to say, Salish, it's all real. All of this stuff is real. You're not out there alone. You're not out there. Because you're sincere and because Krishna is real, there is reciprocation. It's not like a robot. There's actual heartfelt reciprocation with your desires. And Krishna, and I can say in my life, I've seen in my life from the very beginning of my spiritual life. You know, I was in Youth of Today, my band.
Yeah.
And I was at a point where I was like, I am dedicated to Bhakti. I am dedicated to Bhakti. And I want to go to India, but I have one more tour to do. This was the We're Not on This Alone tour, the last tour we did before I jumped in feet first into the monk life. And so I had one more tour to do. And I think, why would Krishna do this to me? Why would Krishna make me do this entire tour? I feel obligated to do it, but I feel like my calling is in a different direction. And none of the guys were into Bhakti at all. And they thought I was a little crazy at that time of my life, because I appeared a little crazy, because I was just like in a whole nother direction at the height of our career. And then I found that the 3 days before the tour, our roadie quit and our van engine block seized. So no van and no roadie, no tour. And then magically, Sachi Sutta, who was Steve back then, who I knew, not even well, but he promoted shows for us in Albany. He said, hey, I heard your van broke down and you need a roadie. I can be a roadie and I have a van. You want me to take you guys on tour? And it was Krishna's magic, because Krishna is real. He's a reciprocating force, energy, cowherd child, whatever you want to call him. It's real. Krishna sent Steve because I needed someone to be my partner on my journey home. And he sent me. And I'm sure Krishna sent Steve me, because he needed somebody that could speak his language. And the magic continues like that. And we have this whole journey around America and on our journey home back towards Bhakti. And by the time we got back to New York City, we were like, we're in. We're totally in. And so Krishna will send you people, because Krishna is real. Don't sweat that. And Krishna sent you this entire podcast community. This is a real community. It's especially live if you're part of Patreon, because people interact every day on their what do we have? The Discord thread. We have like community meetings. We have men's meetings. We have 12-step meetings. We have workshops. We have a Zoom class, which you may not be able to get onto, but the Zoom class, everybody sort of knows each other. And even if you don't know each other, and even if you can't get onto something like this, you're still part of the community. And Krishna sent you the podcast to hear every day. And even if you don't like me or the podcast, then there's other sources of bhakti that are out there in the ether that you can listen to on YouTube, listen to on Audible, you listen to on lectures. And it's such a resource. Here's the problem with the information age. There's 99.9% bad information, distracting information, crippling information. And then you've got to be like an archaeologist and just find that little diamond amongst the giant mine. And the diamond is transcendental information. You got to excavate it, you got to treasure it, and you got to keep that close to your heart. It's out there, and the universe will reciprocate and send you everything that you need if you just desire it. You know why? Because it's real.
Because Krishna's in the heart, right?
Krishna's real. He's out. He's within the heart. He's out. He's in. He's everywhere. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
I think it's great. I think that was somehow, if I was sitting alone in Pakistan, I'd be hanging on to those words.
I get it. And I've been getting some Christian, people have been sending me Krishna coincidences. And one person was like, yeah, I just moved to this house and a Krishna guy lives right next door to me. So there are these things that will happen. People will show up in your life magically.
Well, there's that old saying, like people say, that like when the disciple is ready, the guru will appear.
Yeah.
And I actually believe that's very true.
It's one of those Instagram posts that I actually believe to be true also.
Yeah, it's because Krishna's in the heart. And basically our journey through this world he's just like, like they say in the Upanishads, it's like two birds sitting in the tree. There's the Atma and there's the Paramatma. And the Paramatma is just waiting for you to turn back with real sincerity, But if someone says, you know what, enough of my trying to find my happiness separate from you, I want to reconnect. And if you really sincerely have that desire, that prayer, then I do believe that Krishna begins to move everything, shift everything,
Mm.
It might have to be just a little patient, but it starts to happen. All right.
Well, alrighty. Your turn.
Okay. My turn to read one to you.
Oh.
Oh no, your turn to read one to me.
Yes.
That's right.
Andrea K. from Pittsburgh, from Beaver, Pennsylvania. Via
Beaver is like, is that a town or is that like an area like Beaver Falls or something?
No, it's
Is it a county? Beaver
town
County?
called Beaver. It's a dry town. Like you can't drink alcohol or I think you can drink.
Really?
You can't purchase it.
Is that in Western
Interesting that there's
Pennsylvania?
it's in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's Western, outside of
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
you know, that's where my dad grew up, in that area and like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where Tom Essig's from, I think.
That's out in the area where Prabhupada first went with Sally Agrawal.
Butler? No, I think Butler's here, where I am.
No, Butler's way out there. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Andrea K. She's great. She's a Zoomer, and now she's an other, but she listens every day. She says, my questions are simple, so please forgive my ignorance. How does one become initiated? What are the pre-initiated items that need to be completed, if any? Also, what is the significance of the 3 rounds around the neck of the Tulsi strands? Thank you for any insight. I have been overwhelmed with so many good lessons, but I'm missing these basic ones, Andrea K. She's so sincere.
Okay, Andrea. So what she's asking about initiation, and what that means is that if someone is inspired by this path of Bhakti Yoga, this path of Krishna Bhakti, then at a certain level of commitment, they may be initiated. And in the course of initiation, what's happening is that a guru, or like a teacher, a mentor, is formally initiating one into the lineage. Okay, now you're part of the lineage. And what that means is that you're going to receive the mantra in that lineage, as well as the instructions about how to live, just as I was talking before, how to live so that you can receive the full benefit of that mantra. And then a relationship is created there. And at that time, in the process of initiation, one receives a new name, one receives the mantra, it formalizes the relationship with the guru, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a formal commitment to the practice and to the lineage. And so for that to happen, there has to be faith going both ways. There has to be faith in the student to the guru, and there has to be faith from the guru towards the student, right? The guru has to be convinced that this student understands this practice of bhakti, and that they have the right, we could call it like sambandha jnana, that they understand clearly this philosophy, right? They need to understand, and very simply, like one would need to believe that God is a person, that I am part of the energy of that God, but I'm an individual and I always will be, right? That this material energy is also the energy of God. And I can tend to be bewildered by this energy, but my goal is to reconnect with my divine source. One has to have a clear understanding of the philosophy. Otherwise, you don't know what you're getting initiated into.
Right.
So like Raghunath and I were both initiated in the Hare Krishna movement, and what's, like the current kind of standard that they generally have for that is that one would have to pass this Bhakti Shastri study test, right? That you go through like a formal kind of study. And just so that we know that you've studied this
Understand the
and understood it.
philosophy. It's not just whimsical giving out names.
Right. Because sometimes that guru, that person that initiates you, may not be there to spend lots of time with you, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to trust other people to help you, but they want to make sure that you've understood things clearly. So then it's kind of become a standard to take that test. There are other branches of the lineage that'll have different ideas or different standards. The guru might know you personally and not have to have you take this test, and they might just check you out themselves and so on. But you need to understand everything correctly. So some study is going to have to go into it so that you know what you're getting initiated into. And then they also need to see that you're sincere, that you really want it, and that you're willing to adjust your life in such a way that you will receive the benefit of that mantra. So like the guru might perceive this person just wants to have one of these cool Sanskrit names, right? Or this person just, they
smiled immediately. Oh,
I want it.
Mirabai.
But so they need to make sure that it's not a superficial kind of attraction or idea that you have, that you're actually very sincere, because the fact is it's not going to work unless you're ready to sacrifice for it. And so therefore vows are taken at the time of initiation, vows in terms of one's one's diet and other habits, and they're pretty they're some pretty serious vows. So generally the also, again, like in our current, Hare Krishna movement, what's the common thing is they want to see for a year that you're able to follow these vows before they'll initiate you into it. Right? But other people may, from other branches of this lineage may do it in a different way. But
Kaustubha and me are following the precedent put by Srila Prabhupada, who's our Param Guru, our Guru's Guru.
Yeah. That means also vowing to chant 16 rounds a day. That's, about a 2-hour thing. You're ready to do that every day, because that's the vow you have to take to get initiated.
Yeah.
So the, the faith, that's the guru has to have faith that the student has the right conceptions and is sincere enough to follow these vows. And the disciple has to have faith that the guru is a living embodiment of the sacred texts, and that they represent them, in how they live their life, as well as in teaching it accurately. And so along with their study, they're observing this person and seeing, they have to feel the inspiration and the conviction that this person is really living it. And through their living it, I feel inspired to follow it and to follow their instructions. Yeah. Well, so that faith has to be going both ways. And there's also kind of like you could call it like a bond of affection between the two, There should be some love in the heart from the guru to the student, some love in the heart from the student to the guru. And that bond of affection makes this commitment, strong. So, so she's asking, how does one become initiated? If you're feeling that inspiration from a particular person, and you've studied and seen that this person is living it, they're actually embodying it. And when I hear their words from deep within inside, it makes me feel like I really want to give my life to this practice. Then one can approach that person, whether it's in the form of a letter or, in person. One could approach that person and say, I would like to, or it could go through another person. Like sometimes it works that way, right? I would like to be your disciple, to be your student. I would like to be trained in you in how to follow this path of bhakti. I'm serious about it. I want to do this. And then that guru will want to make sure you have the right conceptions. They'll want to make sure that you have the conviction to follow the process. And that's how it works. And then it might, after some time, when that faith is established going both directions, then the formal initiation would take place. I was just going to quickly say that regarding the 3 strands of neck, initiated devotees that have been initiated, they commonly wear 3 strands of tulsi beads around their neck.
Yeah, I always wondered what that is.
I don't know if that's
true. Sometimes people just like to make up extra rules.
It may be like that.
Especially these organizations that have a lot of rules. They're like, let's make some extra ones up.
It may be like that, or it just may have been like a thing that's kind of common. I don't know. I don't have any reference for that.
Me neither.
Okay. Something, would you like to add to that, Raghunath?
I was gonna, but I forgot. And then I thought to myself,
too long.
why am I always interrupting him? That was I was having a whole debate in my mind. Do I say my incredibly intelligent, insightful thing right now, or do I just shut up? And I was like,
I bet it was great.
Say it. It's going to be insightful. And then I was like, shut up.
I bet it was great. Okay, Raghunath, I got a question for you now. I hope that was okay, Andre. I hope that was helpful. And if you need more, just write to us again and we'll work through it together. Okay, this is an anonymous question, Raghunath. This is a serious, sincere question and a very relevant question for today's world. I mean, it's something that people don't talk about, but it's really there, This is quite first. So he says to Raghunath, most of us youths today, although attracted to bhakti, find it difficult to check our bad habits like pornography and masturbation. Although wanting to stay away from these habits, we are helplessly dragged as if by force. at the end of the day, we're quite frustrated that we cannot find ways to get this bad habit out of our lives. How can we start letting go of these habits that hinder our bhakti? Could you please help us by providing some practical tips?
No one's got those problems except you. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
This is a super common thing.
I mean, just the statistics on pornography and stuff are just like insane.
It's insane. And here's a big problem with it. Thanks for asking that question. And it's sort of like a white elephant in the room,
Does the elephant have to be white?
It makes it more like dramatic. A white elephant.
Didn't know that. Why not make it red?
The red elephant is also very dramatic.
Anyway, elephant.
It's a great question. The first problem is you have culture endorsing it. Culture endorses, like, especially when they say, well, I'm struggling with my sexuality. You have to surrender to your sexuality. It's healthy for you. It's good to give into those desires as much as you can. And it's like, it's such crazy ideas that you will be satisfied by trying to satiate the insatiable desires of the mind and the body. It won't happen.
It's a good way to put it.
Any wisdom teachings will tell you the senses become satiated by controlling them. How do you control them? Now that's a problem, because there's this ideal. As a matter of fact, in the Krishna movement, which organization that me and Kaustubha have been connected with. We don't live in a temple anymore and haven't in 20 years. But we know people, and we witnessed its highs and lows, and it can very often create, because we try to raise the bar high. Everybody knows here. We try to raise our bars ethically, health-wise, what we consume in our mouth and in our ears and our mind. And so when you're raising the bar high, sometimes you reaching high and falling short. That's understandable. But what happens is we create a community where it's almost embarrassing to share that you're struggling, because we want to look at each other as saintly and outstanding devotees. And it's important, if you struggle like you did, Mr. Anonymous, it's important to find people that you trust, peers that you trust, that they walk a path that you trust, and teachers that you trust, that you can bear your heart to. This is a big part of bhakti, and it's a downfall. That's something we have to correct, that we need to encourage people to share their struggles, not with everybody, not online necessarily with thousands of people, but with a friend that you can confide with. And this is spoken about by Rupa Goswami, that you find somebody and you share your deepest and darkest with them. And what do they do in response? They shut up and they listen to you. They don't even have to give you advice. And they keep it in confidence. That's why I'm really happy that Jiva and Nancy have started this whole parallel Bhakti 12-step recovery program. And Raghunath Swami is very happy that they started it too. Because that program is that type of woven circle for people who really want that, a place to share. Otherwise, we bury it and we publicly present and privately suffer. And that's a problem. Those secrets are big problems, okay? It's okay. You don't have to tell the whole world your problems, but find a few select people who you feel like, I trust this person and I need to share for my benefit. Matter of fact, there's a tendency in male, like I'm assuming Anonymous is a male. Generally, ladies don't struggle with a pornography and masturbation addiction. You can run the numbers on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on with that. That's okay. It's okay. We're driving in different vehicles. The vehicles react differently. So I think we're going to start soon, if not immediately, a men's group that I think is important for men to share men problems. And we're going to announce that soon. And here's what I want to say, just to give some practical takeaway. There's an ideal, and then there's what's real. Sometimes if I can't live up to the ideal, it's like all or nothing. Don't be an all or nothing. It's not perfection. And there's a big, we always hear these things, pure bhakti, pure devotee. Guess what? don't worry about pure. Worry about progress. Progress is super important. And you can make progress every moment of every day. And I feel like if you listen to this truth download, this is a truth download, because it's not me, it's not you, we're just repeating the Bhagavatam every day. It's a truth download, and it will give you progress, because eventually you won't be able to live an untruth with truth yelling at you every day. Truth will just be there talking to you, and you'll get to this point of like, I hate myself. I can't do this anymore. And that feeling of a rock bottom, I can't do this more. I have no integrity in my behavior. It can lead us in two ways. I want to commit suicide. I want to run away. I want to bury myself. I want to hide from people. Or I want to change. And we're waiting for that rock bottom, a lot of us. We're waiting for that rock bottom, and it's a very beautiful place. Ask anybody who's been through 12-step recovery. They will thank their addiction for hitting rock bottom, because they wouldn't have changed, and they wouldn't have reached out to God. Give me a thumbs up, Nancy Rothman, if you agree. She's gave me a 2 thumbs up. All right.
Got more thumbs going up, too.
She got a bunch of thumbs going up. So there's certain things. This is important, because there's certain things, and not just sex, but any of these things, they lead you to, I've never taken drugs, but I've heard that if you take LSD, and LSD people can give me a thumbs up for this, after you take it a few times, you need to take more doses to get the same thing. Is that
I don't know if that's right with LSD.
Maybe not? Okay. Yeah. Well, some people are thumbs up at me.
You're just not getting good stuff. Right?
Some drugs, no. Some people say, no, you're not getting the good stuff. Okay. But you have to increase the dosage to get the same high. So a lot of times addictive things, they take you down darker and darker and darker paths. And things get weirder, kinkier, more bigger doses, etc. And next thing you know, you are so separate from your truth, from your self-control, from a quiet mind. So these things have to sort of be addressed. Don't keep going down the dead end, the long dead end. Cut it at the beginning, and you make these boundaries. I don't do this. This is something I don't do. You draw a line in the sand. I don't go, and it's going to be different for each people. And what's going to happen is you're going to upgrade that boundary as you go. Some people are very addicted to alcohol, and to go cold turkey, they find it very difficult. Then they have to regulate it. And this is spoken about in the Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Sutras, that how do you deal with uncontrolled senses? If you can't fully control them, you regulate them. I was right.
Yeah, I was thinking that Shyam Sundar, who we interviewed some weeks ago, who was one of the original disciples of Prabhupada in San Francisco, and he was a follower of Srila Prabhupada already, and he was smoking cigarettes every day, right. Like a couple packs or something like that. Addictive. Yeah, and Srila Prabhupada said, just this is what you do. Like every day you smoke like one less, right? Like you smoke a pack. I don't know how many cigarettes in a pack, like 25 or something like that. We're getting all kind of drug information here on the chat board.
Lots of drug information on the chat board.
Yeah. So like one day, okay, it's like 25 cigarettes, and then you take one out, and then you go down, and you take one out and you go down. He said, by the time you get down till there's only one left and there's none, you'll be able to give it up. And he said, that's what I did, and it worked, So that's also like a strategy.
20 in a pack here, man.
20, okay.
So we regulate it. And it's nice to have accountability. And that's why friends come in, the 12-step group come in, a men's meeting comes in. You have a person says, here's my accountability today.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out, especially with sexuality and stuff like that, you have to figure out, what is my line in the sand? This is what I don't do. But I will say things like pornography, very dangerous for the mind. And if you're engaging in it, we're not shaming you here. You have to draw a line in the sand. I don't do this anymore, and make a firm commitment that I'm not going to go there, and have someone that you can check in with on a regular basis if this is your drug of choice. Same thing with masturbation. And then people say, well, what's wrong with you and your God? You can't have fun. That's not it. Fun doesn't come from indulging the senses. We all know this. Fun comes from regulating the senses, controlling the senses. Fun is internal. Now, if you don't get this, that's okay. Because I've heard yogis preach the other thing. Then they don't understand yoga. Because yoga is our pleasures coming internally, not externally. The senses need to be controlled for us to find peace. Or else what happens, if you're trying to walk this path, it's like crossing a river with a foot in two different canoes. Not going to happen. You're going to struggle, and you're going to have to, you're going to end up not liking yourself any longer. You're going to feel like I'm not living with integrity. And and if you have that problem, maybe this show is a wake-up call that, you know what? I'm sick of presenting publicly. I've got to go inside, and I've got to connect, and I've got to connect with a friend. So anyway, again, we're going to announce our men's group coming up soon, but we also have a great, on Patreon, we have a great Bhakti 12-step recovery group, and it's really active, and people are very focused, and they're good quality people, and just having addictions or problems, this is not an evil thing. We're born in this crazy world, and of course, and we've been told, and we've been endorsed that these things are good for you. Culture promotes it a lot of times, you know. When people still couldn't go to church, they could go to buy alcohol with the pandemic. So these are very serious things. Some of these things are highly addictive, and oftentimes, and here's another big, beautiful one. A lot of times, people who have sexual addiction or alcohol addiction, or probably any addiction, it's got nothing to do with that drug. Like oftentimes the sexual addiction has nothing to do with sex. It's a way to medicate some internal disconnection where they can get a dopamine dump, a quick hit of something that can get me out of some pain that I'm feeling in my mind. So there always is a withdrawal. Emotions will always surface. You'll always be frustrated. I got to go back to that dopamine, and you got to deal with it. Just like anybody going through rehab, they have to deal with it as those emotions come up. And then all you're left with is the emotion. And that's where we are. We have to deal with these deep buried pain, trauma, and emotions. And that's part of our spiritual growth. It's a huge part of our spiritual growth. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
Thank you for sharing your wisdom, Raghunath. You came on late today, but you're just on the ball.
You know what? I do better late.
Always prepare, never prepare. Right?
Okay, that was good.
I think we're done.
I think we're done. Well, you know what, Kaustubha?
Yeah.
I got one thing to say to you.
Yeah. Say it.
Time to dance. Thanks for everybody joining us on Zoom today. Got a big group today on Zoom. I like 100 people there at one point.
Hey, Salish from Pakistan wrote to us on the Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, Salish, he's under arrest right now. Thank you
that.
for being here, Salish. Look, Mara gave me that face. Thank you for everybody for joining us on Zoom. Salish, join us on Zoom sometime. And all you got to do is email Mara, Wisdom of the Sages 108 @gmail.com. Facebook people, jump on the show. We do this every day at 5 a.m. This is the way you hear and learn yoga wisdom. It's not through a teacher training where you learn it for a few hours of the 200 hours. You have to hear it on a regular basis. And then it's not just filed as interesting yoga cultural information. It becomes part of your life and directs you in this world. And that's what we want. We want our life to be directed with truth. We want the main thing. This is the main thing. We want the main thing to be the main thing. I've been diverted for so long.
Hey, who we got tomorrow, Raghunath?
Well, I find this, and we have tomorrow, we have a great lady coming on, Vishaka Devi, fascinating woman, deep thinker, has done so many cool things.
Adventurer.
In her life. Traveled with Prabhupada around the world, an incredible photographer, author, and filmmaker. And she's here at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. We're excited. Eastern time. So, and we're going to put that on Facebook too. Facebook people, we want to see you convert, like that word, convert to Zoom or to our podcast so you can listen to us every day. We don't want you once a week. We want every moment of your waking life.